I had a long-term girlfriend for about 5 years. I started dating her when I was 17, so when we finally broke up, in all honesty, it hit me hard at first. But after around 6 months, I realized I'd missed out on a lot of things and experiences while I was with her. That's when I started using online dating and dating apps. The one I used the most ended up being Bumble. It just seemed to work for me. At first, I wasn't looking for anything serious and used the apps for some fun. I met a few women off of there and enjoyed the friends with benefits lifestyle. But after a few months, I found myself thinking it was time I got to know someone new and start seeing someone properly again, as my friends by now all had girlfriends. That is when I stumbled upon a woman named Bella. She was so easy on the eyes and kinda hot. I took an instant liking to her. We got to talking, which was great, and she seemed really interested in me as well, and we had a lot in common. Anyway, after talking for a week, we decided to meet up. Bella suggested that I meet at her place first, and then we'd make our way out somewhere from there. We didn't live far from each other, just a half-hour drive, so I agreed to pick her up. So that evening, I made my way across town and searched for her place. When I arrived, I noticed it was in a quiet area, and it ended up being the furthest house down its street, pretty much secluded from the rest of the street. I pulled up outside and texted her, letting her know I was there. The lights were all off, and it seemed like no one was home. After a few minutes of no reply, I looked at my phone to see the message had been read, but still no reply. I looked back up at the house, and as I scanned the area, I noticed in the top of the window, to my surprise, the curtains fall back, like someone had been looking out of them, but shut them when they noticed me looking. Then I got a text, a reply from Bella saying, "Sorry, I'm just finishing up getting ready. Come over and my dad'll let you in." This made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't really want to meet her dad, so I texted back saying, "It's fine, no problem, I'll just wait in the car." I got a quick reply this time saying, "No, it's no bother, I've got to do my hair, so just come over, have a drink, my dad's expecting you anyway, don't be shy." Reluctantly, I replied saying, "Okay." I got out of my car and made my way over. It was dark outside, and as I walked over, I couldn't help but feel it was odd that the lights were off still in the house. As I approached the door and was about to knock, the door suddenly creaked open, and a tall, gaunt, pale-looking man with long, dark hair towered over me. He smiled at me and said, "Hello, come in, Bella won't be long." I hesitantly stepped in, and the place was dark and dingy and had a real bad odor to it. The man shut the door behind us and pointed me towards the living area to take a seat and make myself comfortable. As I sat down, the man sat opposite of me and just stared, smiling at me with wide eyes and a creepy grin. He didn't say anything. It put me on edge, so I tried to make conversation. I tried making a joke like, "Does your daughter always take this long to get ready?" But he just brushed it off with, "Don't worry about her, she won't be long." And with that, the conversation ended, going back to silence as he continued to just stare, smiling at me. A few more minutes passed of this when the man offered me a drink. To get rid of him, I said yes, just a water would be great as I was driving. He went off to get the water. I couldn't hear any movement upstairs, and I found that strange. I felt something wasn't right, and I knew I couldn't take much more of sitting here with this weird guy staring at me. So as he came back and placed the water next to me, I again politely asked if he could check on Bella, as I needed to be back by a certain time, coming up with some sort of excuse. At this point, the man, standing up, said he would of course go check on his daughter. As he made his way out of the room, he then brushed my shoulders with his hand and told me to sit tight. This made my skin crawl. As he left the room, I noticed out of the corner of my eye, he pulled the chain lock across the front door before he quickly headed upstairs. Why the fuck would he do that? I thought. Even more freaked out, now really regretting coming inside. I thought to myself, this isn't right. I then suddenly heard a voice from upstairs. It was the man's voice. He began shouting, but I could only hear his voice. Alarm bells now ringing. I said to myself, that's it, and made a play for the door. As I did, I went to text Bella in case she was up there, that I'm sorry, but I had to go, something urgent had come up. As I got to the front door and sent the text, I heard a phone ping behind me, followed by, creepily, what sounded like a woman saying my name, asking where I was going. As I turned, I saw a dark figure standing at the top of the stairs, but couldn't see fully with the darkness. I thought to myself, Bella, but as the figure slowly made its way down the stairs, a ball of fear built in the pit of my stomach. As I saw the height of the figure, and as it got closer, I could clearly see to my dread. It was the old man, dressed up in women's clothes and makeup, wearing a battered wig. He said with a daggered look across his face, "Why are you leaving so soon? Why don't you come upstairs with me?" To this, I ripped the chain latch open on the door before he got any closer and sprinted the fastest I've ever ran to my car, not looking back. As I got in my car, I sped off, seeing the man at his front door with anger in his face. I got home, and as soon as I did, I blocked that number and checked Bumble. I reported Bella's profile, but I think it was too late as it was already gone. After that, I deleted Bumble. I think to this day how lucky I am that I got out of there. I'm lucky I didn't drink that water because 100% I know it was drugged. And as for that freak, who knows what he would have done. I haven't stopped using dating apps from that experience, but I am a lot more cautious and never agree to meet at someone's house. I urge you all to be careful yourself when using apps and meeting people online, as you never know who's on the other side of that screen. This experience is one that I will never forget, and is also the reason I don't use online dating anymore. I'd been single for a while. My last breakup took its toll on me, and it took me a lot of time to get over my ex, which, by the time I was, been a while since I'd been on the dating scene. 7 months to be exact. I was still emotionally deprived and hadn't met anyone new. My friends were all taken, and I would feel left out anywhere they had plans with their boyfriends, or if I went out, I would just feel like the third wheel. After a lot of thinking and recommendations from a few friends, I decided to make an account on Tinder. That same day, I got matched with a guy who was very handsome. Our interests matched, and we obviously liked each other on the app, so I decided to message him and give it a shot. We started texting. He was a really sweet guy, I remember. We'd text a lot, and I'd feel butterflies when we did. I would find myself hoping, whenever my phone beeped, that it would be him who would text. Of course, he lived in the same city of me, so it wasn't long before we decided to meet up. He sent me an address and told me that he couldn't wait to see me. I had expected our first date to be at some sort of fancy restaurant. I'd even fantasized about it. But I brushed that aside, thinking we all have different preferences, and maybe that was just him. I spent 2 hours getting ready for our date and made sure that I dressed my best. Sexy, but classy. My makeup and jewelry were all on point, and I was ready to go. I left the house after being completely satisfied with my appearance, and albeit slightly nervous as this was my first date in a long time. I sent him a quick text stating that I was on my way. The "can't wait" text came back quickly, with a little winky face after it. He had sent me his location on WhatsApp, so I made my way there. Strangely, it was a rundown neighborhood just outside the city, something which I was not expecting at all. I went to the address, which was a weird old apartment building. Honestly, the place looked like a nest of drug dealers. I remember it made me more nervous than I already was, but I told myself that I shouldn't judge a person by the place they lived in. I rang the bell on the apartment, to which I was buzzed in straight away. I I walked through the block until I reached his apartment door. I was about to knock when he opened the door immediately, as if he'd been standing on the other side of the door. It kind of surprised me and I looked startled. I tried to cover it up by cracking a joke, something corny like, "You really couldn't wait to see me, could you?" He let me in. As I walked in, I saw the place was a dump. I mean, even if you were a lazy person, you'd tidy up if someone was coming over, I thought, especially a date. As I walked in further, it then hit me. There was a strange, putrid smell lingering in the house. He moved some stuff away from the couch so we could sit. We began to chat. He did, though, look like he did from his pictures, so it was the same guy in real life, but he seemed totally different here. He kept leaning in closer to me. I kept moving slightly back, trying not to be noticeable, but it was making me uncomfortable. Then at one certain point, he said to me, "You remind me so much of my sister." He smiled. He reached out, tucking a lock of my hair behind my ear. This truly did weird me out, and I began to feel nervous. Comparing me to his sister? Did he find his own sister attractive? Then my adrenaline began to run. "She had hair and eyes just like yours," he said to me as he smelled my hair and inhaled the scent of my skin. I didn't know what to do. Thankfully, he asked me if I'd like a drink. I quickly replied yes, just to get him away from me. Finally, he got up and walked to the kitchen. While he was in the kitchen, I looked around. There were pictures on the shelf, pictures of his sister and him. Then there were several more scattered on the table in the corner, all with women who resembled his sister. Amongst the pictures were some newspapers lying around, some cutouts of articles. As I read the headlines, a wave of panic and fear went through me. Girl found drowned in a pool. Girl's death under investigation. They read, and pictures that accompanied them were of the same girls in the pictures scattered on the table that looked like his sister, who looked like me. My hands shook. I turned around expecting him to be in the room. Luckily, he was still in the kitchen. Wasting no time, I immediately made a run for the door. As I opened it, the creak was loud. I didn't know if he heard it or not, so I just ran as fast as I could without looking back, my heart racing. Luckily, I got out of there without any issues and managed to make it home. As soon as I did, I blocked his number and his social accounts. I sat there that night thinking things through and wondering if I overreacted. Surely not. The guy was a real creep. When I finally calmed, I tried to sleep. I just wanted to forget the whole experience and move on. Over a month had passed and nothing ever came of it. I had slowly begun to forget the whole thing. But one evening, I was watching the local news when a headline along with a girl's picture flashed on the screen. The girl looked like me. Then I couldn't help but think it. It reminded me of that guy's sister. She'd been killed and strangled to death. Then, the color drained from my skin. My body just went numb. What I saw next literally sent my pulse racing into anxiety. As it said suspect caught disposing of body, it flashed on the screen the same guy I'd been talking to and met up with on my date. I felt physically sick, realizing it could have been me. I could have been a victim too. But guilt also struck me soon after. Could I have prevented this from happening if I had contacted the police after my experience with him? I still think about it to this day. I consider myself lucky to be telling this experience now, and I never take for granted how lucky I am to be able to tell this. With online dating being such a huge part of society these days, please be careful who you talk to and really get to know them first. You can't be too sure who you're talking to. But for me, ever since, I have never used dating apps, and chances are I never will. Just a quick one, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed these disturbing stories. Why don't you comment down below which one would have terrified you the most if it were you in that situation? Also, Don't forget to subscribe just over to the left, and look out for plenty more upcoming content by hitting that bell button. If you can, like, comment, and share. It really helps us out, and I really appreciate it a lot, you guys. Let us know what story subjects you'd be interested in hearing soon in upcoming videos. And thanks again. Take care out there, and remember, fear lies within.